Two huge pro days going down today. Alabama and Ohio State opening their doors for pro scouts to come and see the talent in the building. We're going to talk a lot about that today. We start in Columbus, where Arvell Reese, look at him, and Sonny Styles headlining a deep defensive class. That Ohio State defense, unbelievable. The two linebackers will likely be off the board in the top 10. On the offensive side of the ball, Carnell Tate, considered the top wideout by many of our draft experts. He was on the field working out this afternoon. We'll check in on that as well as hearing from him. And down in Tuscaloosa, Siimpson made his final case to scouts about why he is worth a first-round pick in next month's draft. We're going to talk about Siimpson. You're also going to hear from him. And so glad that you're with us here on NFL Live. We're going to get things started right there at Alabama. Field Yates was at the facility watching all of it, speaking with Siimpson as well, seeing those throws. Field, Siimpson shined at the Combine in Indy last month. How did he look at his pro day today?
Yeah, Laura, no surprise that Siimpson was once again as advertised as a thrower today. There was precision passing, not just in the short and intermediate game, but down the field. And that was one of the questions that Ty was here to answer today, is what is his downfield arm strength like, especially when throwing a little bit off platform. On top of that, Ty, who noted to me after his workout that he is perhaps a better athlete than people give him credit for, threw the football effectively while on the move today during a 50 to 60 throw overall session. And a lot of these receivers obviously are very familiar to Ty, but it felt like the ball placement was most consistently where it needed to be. And Ty has had a busy past few weeks getting ready and geared up for today, Laura, but it's just getting started here for Ty, who's already had visits with teams prior to his pro day. He told me after the workout that he is next scheduled to work out for the Jets this upcoming Friday. That's a private workout, so teams that are canvassing quarterbacks in the first round beyond Fernando Mendoza are amongst the likes of the Jets at 2, the Cardinals at 3, the Browns at 6 and 24 as well. So the Jets, one of those teams that we have circled, are going to get a closer look at Ty this upcoming Friday.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of reporting coming out of that. Field, we appreciate you. You're sticking around for more. Siimpson, by the way, one of 19 players participating in Tuscaloosa today. New on NFL Live, Field references. He did talk with Siimpson right after his workout. Talk about what he wanted to show teams today.
I think, one, my IQ and the command at the line of scrimmage. You look at my tape, I'm always in the line doing something with our checks or getting us in the right place. So I feel like that, that sets me apart from a lot of other people. Two, I think people don't, give me enough credit for my athletic ability. On the boot, on runs, getting away from the pocket. I feel like that's a huge part of my game and something that, quarterbacks have to do during, playing in the NFL. And then, the third thing is my arm. I feel like I can make any throw on the field, whether it's on time or having to scramble and throw it down the field like I showed out in pro day. Just something that, I feel like that I showed out in the pro day and, made some throws.
Yeah, Field was talking about some of those throws he made. Looked really good. Dan Orlovsky, Adam Schefter with us now. And Dan, you're as optimistic as anyone about Siimpson's future. Why?
I just think when you watch the young man play this year, you can carbon copy so much of what he does, transfer it to the NFL, and you go, I got a starter for 10 years that's going to play at a high level. I think he's really good underneath the center, the play-action pass game, which we know has become a massive part of NFL offenses. I think he's really good dealing with panic moments. Laura, you know me. It's one of my favorite things for quarterbacks. What do you do in moments of panics, that decision-making element? I think he's really good downfield with his eyes. I call it playing with fast eyes. I think he's pretty darn good under pressure. I know there's been a lot of conversation of who he was under pressure at the end of the season. If you compare him to what most people believe should be the #1 pick in the NFL draft, Fernando Mendoza, there's a lot of similarities, and I would make the claim that I think Siimpson navigates the pocket just as good. And so it's not an offense in college that had a lot of gimme to it, easy. It was a lot of, I have to throw the ball down the field, 15, 20, 25-yard chunks over defenders, in between defenders, in real windows. And I think you watch a lot of the things that he did, and you see a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL, Baker Mayfield, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford, Trevor Lawrence, at least schematically, operate very similar things.
Yeah, we've talked about this a good bit on this show, just the fact that the run game for Alabama was essentially non-existent as well.
Yeah, he got about 78 yards per game rushing from his running backs.
Good stats, Dan. You got it. It's
do.
true. Yeah, also some dropped balls as well. Yes. Adam, any sense about how Siimpson is viewed by teams around the league?
Well, Laura, I think clearly is the #2 quarterback draft, despite what Dan says at this point in time, and we're waiting to see exactly where he goes in this draft. It's not easy to find a matching spot, and I think part of This is what happens Friday with the New Jets, who hold the 16th overall selection. Do the Jets like him enough there and take him? I think there are questions around the league about that actually will discussion about the Rams. Happens.
All right, Adam is taking some technical hits here. We'll get back to him in just a little bit. Adam certainly providing the context there, though, that either way the Jets are going to check him out on Friday.
Yeah.
And Dan, if you're the Jets, what are you looking out for when they see him on Friday for that private workout? Take us inside, like, what those are even like.
Yeah, I would imagine that number one is just being around him, how he carries himself. I think you'd love to get him thrown outside in a little bit of weather. That's what you're going to have to deal with, the reality. I know Alabama deals with it a little bit. It's not like Northeast weather, and so hopefully you can get a spring day in April or late March where it's a little bit windy. I think you want to just see him, can he drive the football in those environments at least as much as you can? And then what type of offense are you planning to run? And I would try to get him to operate some of those things, at least scheme-wise, that you want to operate. Frank Reich, their offensive coordinator, do you want to go in the gun more? Do you want to go in shot in underneath the center more? Do you want to do a little bit more bootlegger play action? So putting him in those elements and just seeing how he handles it, I think, is an important part.
Yeah, as you see right there on your screen, Mel has the Jets taking him at 16. You have a touchscreen coming up later in the show. Tell us just a very quick teaser on what that's going to be.
It's probably my favorite play of the season for him, 4th and 8 against Missouri. Has to evade pressure, and there's also nowhere to throw the football, and he throws it perfectly.
All right, you'll see more on that later in the show. Let's get to the other pro day that's happening today that we've got our eyes on. Field has 5 Ohio State players going in the first 2 rounds of his latest mock, 4 of them going in the top 6. Arvell Reese to the Cardinals, Sonny Styles to the Titans, Caleb Downs to the Giants, and Carnell Tate to the Browns. My goodness, no school has ever had 4 players go in the top 6. Only one school had 4 players go in the top 10. That was Michigan State back in the first year of the Common Draft, 1967. So some history could be made. And it really wouldn't shock any of us because this Ohio State team is so dang good. Lewis Riddick is in Columbus where he watched all of today's action. Lewis, let's start with the 2 linebackers that seem to be in everybody's top 10, Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. How do they look out there today?
Yeah, I'll start with Sonny Styles. He didn't work out. He was in street clothes today, but I did get a chance to speak to a former teammate of mine, that being his father. I got to speak to Lorenzo Styles Sr., and I got to speak to his mother, and they are just beaming with pride about what their young man really faces and really what he's looking forward to once he gets to the NFL. Arvell Reese, on the other hand, he did work out today, and he told me he wanted to work out because I think really giving people a little bit of a taste of what they're going to get when they put his hand down and let him rush the passer is really what he wants to focus on. And he wants to focus on showing people that he has got elite get-off. And I can tell you today, he has elite get-off. He's got elite bend, body control, body quickness and twitch, change of direction. He's got it all, and he's absolutely put together. Doesn't have an ounce of fat on him, big, broad shoulders. He's just one of those guys who, when you look at him, you think of, this is what the ideal edge player looks like. This is what the ideal joker looks like. About 6'4", 6'5", in the 240, 250 range, who can run sub 4.5 in the 4.4s. And he's got like just those wide, beaming eyes that says, look, give me the challenge and I'll accept it. And I think right here, look, you saw a lot of defensive coaches here today, a lot of GMs. They were all fixated on what Arvell Reese was putting on display here.
Yeah, there's some dudes that are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to take my shirt off. If you look like them, that's why you just take it off. You say, yep, this is going to look good to everybody. All right, as a former safety, I'm sure you were locked in on Caleb Downs this afternoon. What did you see out of him?
Yeah, just a cool, calm, and collected individual. Caleb he just exudes leadership. He exudes someone who comes off as someone who is used to being at the command and control center. And that's really how his workout was. It was very smooth and controlled. His hips and his shoulder height were always on the same level, meaning he's not bopping up and down. He's just under real good control because he's got great core strength and a great lower body. He's got great leaping ability. He was able to go up and high point the football in the deep areas of the field and catch it, with consistency. And when I got a chance to talk to him, after his workout was over, he just kind of knows where he is at as far as his development at this point in time, and he knows the best is yet to come with him. And I think these teams know the same thing, and that's why he's also going to go off the board, as it's just about, most of this football team really high in the first round.
Draft the whole team in the first round. By the way, Lewis, you're going to love this number.
Basically.
Downs did not allow a touchdown as a primary defender in 2 seasons at Ohio State. Not just 1, but 2. All right, busy day for Lewis after watching the workouts. He caught up with Arvell Reese to talk about what he wanted to prove